which metaverse projects will survive.
The best companies are built in the bear market.
What is going on with GameFi right now?
Moving away from play to earn.
Do you see some problems with the tokenomics of the gaming startups?
Two tokens are hard to do. It's not impossible.
What will happen, do you think, with all these game guilds?
The guild model completely collapsed, and the top 10 guilds in the world have not grown their scholar base.
Let's speak about the investor decision-making process.
We really want to align interests between the investor, the game studio, and the gamers.
This is InnMind channel with the best first-hand information for startup founders and entrepreneurs. And today we touch super important topic of GameFi and Metaverse that we already covered in some previous interviews with great VC investors. But this topic is so deep and so wide that we definitely need to dig deeper, especially considering the raising discussions in public, in Twitter and everywhere about if GameFi has the future, what is wrong with play-to-earn model, and so on and so forth. And today we are very pleased to have a great guest, Zach Hungate, who is head of gaming at Everyrealm VC, which is, I guess, affiliated with Republic, the popular crowdfunding platform for crypto startups. Hi, Zach.
Hey, it's great to be with you today.
I'm honored to have you as a guest, Zach, and I think that you are the most experienced investor in Metaverse among our network. Are you investing specifically in Metaverse projects, as it is stated on your website, or you are open for, in general, GameFi, play to earn, etc.?
So we have 3 funds at Everyrealm. We're one of the largest owners of virtual real estate. So we're not only buying land in Metaverse platforms, some of the largest owners in the Sandbox, the Decentraland, but also landowners in some of the most anticipated Triple A games coming to market, like Shrapnel, for example. We also have an NFT fund where we're buying, PFPs like CryptoPunks and Bored Apes, but we're also buying a large number of in-game assets that are also, technically NFTs. And then we have our flagship venture capital fund, which is investing in about 50% metaverse gaming as broadly defined, and then metaverse infrastructure. So all the picks and shovels that are building what we believe to be the future of this large genre of the metaverse.
And when did you start investing in these specific verticals yourself? Before you joined Everyrealm or after?
So I joined Everyrealm about a year ago. We effectively in February spun out from Republic. We're our own independent company. And as part of that, we raised a $60 million Series A from Andreessen Horowitz and Lightspeed, Coinbase, and others. And then on the other side of our business, we manage external LP capital, investing in these early stage companies in the pre-seed to Series A stage, right? And so we're trying to be the earliest investor in these companies and then, effectively share that deal flow with our larger investors for the next round. I've been a lifelong gamer. I'm not the best gamer on the planet. Some of the team that makes up the Everealm investment team is, as far as, Counter-Strike professional players, Call of Duty professional players, but I was really a consumer of gaming, watching my little brother grow up in the industry and watch, FaZe Clan and Nadeshot grow up to be into what it is today, a multi-billion-dollar company. So that's what brought me into gaming. Been investing personally into indie games, which I think has a lot of corollaries into the games that are coming out today. And I truly believe the next big game is going to be built by an independent studio, a spin out of the EAs, Activisions, etc., and not the AAA studios of today.
That is one of the reasons why I'm so happy to have you as a guest today, Zach, because you know that during the bull run, a lot of crypto VCs, both newbies and those who already existed for some time, they turned their faces to GameFi and Metaverse sector. But once the market conditions changed, once we switched to the bear market, many of them started making losses through their investments in GameFi. And I heard from a lot of these newcomers in the crypto VC sector that they are not satisfied with the GameFi sector. The GameFi sector is over. I'm quoting their thoughts, yeah, and It is very depressing what is happening there. And I see that you are here with quite a sustainable view and vision on this sector. So how you will comment why so many investors turned off from this sector, and what is going on with GameFi right now?
Look, I think Axie Infinity had a huge rise, last summer, reaching 3 million monthly active users at peak. And they're following the cycle of any other game like World of Warcraft. As the game moves on, the player base moves down, and they released the new game called Axie Origins just recently at the end of July, early August. And so the token prices are down, SLP and AXS. But what I think is the future of gaming is moving away from play to earn, for example, and more to skill-based games. The best companies are built in the bear market. You see the teams leaving Tencent and EA and Activision, going to create their own studios that have major ambitious visions to create, not just single title studios, but an ecosystem of multiple games. So maybe they start out with a MOBA and then release an FPS. Games that are being built now may not be coming out until middle of next year, into 2024, 2025. And so those are the teams, the veterans that we're really looking to back, that have experience building these AAA titles, and that frankly will require at least 100 million to build a title that traditional gamers will want to play. So I think the thought process should be for investors today and consumers is that effectively Web3 games not only have to beat their counterparts in the Web3 and blockchain space, but also have to beat traditional games in the Web2 space as well. An area we're super excited about is mobile. We're seeing a number of games starting to come out that are AAA later this year into next year that will address, the monster base of gamers globally, which is estimated at 4 billion today. So I think the best is yet to come. And I think the barriers to entry for people coming into gaming around wallet creation, there's solutions such as FanWise, where you can sign up with a phone number, for example, and a user never has to interact with the blockchain, or Sequence, where investors in Horizon blockchain game via email. So the infrastructure is being built to really make the experience truly seamless for users.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into details of what you've just shared. First of all, regarding AAA games, I personally touched this topic first time kind of 8 months ago, or at the beginning of 2022, when I saw in InnMind deal flow quite some startups calling themselves AAA games. But when I kind of Googled this term, AAA game is usually a blockbuster. And the startup by default can't be a blockbuster if it does not have the public version of the product yet. So what do you mean by AAA games? Can you elaborate?
I think there's a lot of confusion about what AAA actually means. So it doesn't actually mean the graphic quality, right? It doesn't mean if it's pixelated, it could be a AAA pixelated game. It could be an Unreal 5 and look like 1080 complete perfect photo. AAA has everything to do with the budget behind a game, right? So we believe to create a AAA game, it's going to take $100 million across, a number of years, right? The companies we're backing have been at work for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, okay? And they're just now raising capital after having been toiling away at these games that have been in their brains for some time. And these founders need to be able to raise this kind of capital to fund their vision. And I think it's more about the funding being raised, because not only do you have the game development aspect, right? It has to be a good game, but also you have the funding to market the game and focus on user acquisition. So it's really two key components, and it's going to be tough to create a generational game, meaning one that can last 10 years, like a Counter-Strike or Valorant, with such kind of small funding, right? So we're focused on those founders that can build a monster vision.
But speaking about funding, it's a bit tricky thing, because we know quite some gaming startups that raised too much money on too high valuation during 2021, and they have nothing to do with AAA games.
Now investors are becoming more disciplined, especially in this bear market. We're expecting to see, as investors, gameplay demos, playable demos. My first question talking to founders is, can we play the game? Can we see a trailer? When is it coming out? People are releasing playable demos in advance. You've seen that with Midnight Society. You'll see that with Shrapnel. You'll see this with, leading games that want to keep their community engaged, because ultimately with Web3 games, community is such a huge part of what they're building. They want to engage the community and talk about, how they engage them in game loops and the ultimate vision of where the game goes. I think that's what Web3 layers on. And the studios that are going to be the most successful are, ultimately focused on that and delivering to their audience in real time.
Can you please name some AAA games in your portfolio that you are super bullish about?
Some that we can't announce, but we've been early investors in a game called Shrapnel. It's being built on Avalanche. It's a first-person extraction-based shooter. It's built by the team that built Halo, the generational game, in my opinion. They have a long-term vision, very dedicated team. We're very excited about that one. I'm also excited about a company called Digital Insight Games. Their first game is called Cloud Castles. You can go to their website, cloudcastles.gg. It's like a League of Legends for Web3. The two founders were leading gaming at Tencent. They spent the last 6 months building an incredible team of veterans. So very exciting about what's to come in Q1 and for these two games.
Awesome. And by the way, those who are watching us now, don't forget to check the description to this video, because we will take all the links from Zach of the companies that he wants to make more public, give them a little bit promotion, and we will definitely publish these links to their websites in the description to this video. Zach, coming back to the questions, let's speak about the investor decision-making process, since a lot of startup founders will watch this interview and they will be curious to understand what your VC fund is looking for. What are you paying special attention to when you first time talk to the founders? You already mentioned that you need a playable demo, or at least something to have this touch and feel impression about the game. So idea stage, we forget at the moment, right? Only with MVP and playable demo. What else should the startup have?
I think we want to see a big vision and ability for the founders to be able to raise capital. I think we want to see equity exposure to the studios, ideally getting exposure to equity in the tokens. We want to see a multi-hit opportunity with interoperable NFTs, a single token that's applicable across the ecosystem. Two tokens are hard to do. It's not impossible. Some of my friends have written about that. Such as Sam Porfnoy at InnMind is an incredible writer about tokenomics that the founders should check out. But I think effectively we want to see gameplay, veteran team, a big vision, a multi-title studio, and a prior hit in the past. I think we want in this market to be backing people that know how to build games, that know how to market games and acquire users, because ultimately it's a tough market, highly competitive, and I think those, I'd say, ingredients create a big success in gaming.
When you said multi-titled studios, what does it mean? Does it mean that you invest specifically in gaming studios with multiple games?
That's right. I think a single title studio has a number of risks, right? The game industry is a hit or miss business. And so when we invest, we'd like to see an opportunity for multiple hits, a vision playing out, an IP, right? Intellectual property that can play itself out across a number of titles. And that's how, massive value is created.
And what about traditional gaming studios who are doing their first experiments with Web3 crypto gaming?
I think it's great. We're seeing more and more of that. I think there's solutions out there to layer on blockchain. You have massive players like FTX looking to onboard these studios into Web3. There's plenty of people out there to help them. We are, at Everyrealm game first investors. And so we're looking to back those founders moving from Web 2 into Web 3 and really make it seamless.
And you mentioned one token instead of two tokens. And typically, at least in 2021, majority of gaming startups have indeed the model of two tokens, one governance token and another one is actually playable token. You mean that it is too complicated to support two tokens in parallel, and the future of gaming tokenomics is in having one token, right?
Yeah, I think we get really excited about tokens that have a single model or a token that's built on Solana, for example, that just use Solana's token as the currency, right? It simplifies things. I think there becomes a lot of confusion in tokenomics as to where value accrues. Does it accrue, to the holding company, to the token? And we really want to align interests between the investor, the game studio, and the gamers, to all move in one direction. Because if a thing is good for one constituent, it should be good for everyone in the ecosystem. And so a single token model really aligns interests in that way.
Do you see some problems with the tokenomics of the gaming startups on the current market? Many people say that, well, as you mentioned as well, you're not looking anymore at play to earn, right? So many investors share the opinion that play to earn model is over. What other transformations do you observe?
Yeah, we can't just expect NFT asset prices in games to just continually go up. It's just not realistic. You know, we want to see value accrue to all the stakeholders, a move towards skill-based games where, your earnings is not just generated by clicking a button on a game, but actually being good at that. And so I'm very bullish around platforms where, gamers can level up their skills, can be educated, can partner with professionals and esports organizations. And you've seen this happen with the guild model completely collapse, and the top 10 guilds in the world have not grown their scholar base. And it's not just because the infrastructure doesn't, exist to launch these guild models, but actually, this expectation of continually increasing tokens, just value is just not sustainable. So I think bringing in traditional gamers to play for fun, to play for the right reasons, and kind of weed out the, financial movers and shakers, and kind of bring in what I consider traditional gamers is going to be the future, where we refer to games as not just like Web3 games or Web2 games, but just games. Okay. That's the future.
Do you mean that you are considering investing in Web2 games as well?
We invest in Web2 metaverse platforms as well, in the Roblox ecosystem, Fortnite ecosystem, Minecraft, etc. I think a lot of exciting things. That's where the users play today, and those teams are not just limited to those platforms. They're aggressively building into the leading Web3 metaverses as well, where UGC, IP are all going to determine the big successes of this next wave.
You also mentioned yourself that the game guilds are kind of collapsed with their business models. What will happen, do you think, with all these game guilds that appeared like mushrooms after rainy season in 2021? They will transform or just die, or what will happen?
No, the founders of all these guilds are my friends. They're going to succeed. They're all pivoting into different business models, each of them into Web3 infrastructure, user acquisition, game discovery, esports, excellence, education, content creation, all these different avenues that are going to promote the Web3 gaming ecosystem. So despite the failure of the scholar model and play to earn, these guilds are well capitalized. They have very smart founders that are going to pivot into growing our ecosystem in a much bigger way. So you'll see them come out. You'll see their plans. I can't disclose them, but very exciting things happening with, the leading guilds today.
I hope that soon we will see the bright examples of these successful transformations. And
exactly.
speaking about Metaverse, which is a specific segment of the gamifying in general, can you please advise? Because I always wonder how to understand which Metaverse projects will survive after 1-2 years time frame, since obviously we don't need that many, and to be successful they need really mass adoption and huge user acquisition, and I can't imagine that certain users will be presented in multiple metaverses at the same time. So can you please elaborate a little bit on that?
At Everyrealm, we think that there's going to be thousands of metaverses. I think the metaverse is actually the new definition of a website. Every brand has a website. There will be many different metaverses for different demographics of people, different interests such as fashion, sports, different places to hang out with your friends, meet up, experience things. We're seeing a huge push and, social elements. You saw it in Fortnite, right? A majority of players today are playing in Fortnite creative mode of maps made by creators and not the maps designed by Epic, right? So in these new worlds of UGC, these new metaverses, your friends can create the places they want to hang out. I think it's going to expand based on people adopting the technology advancing, where the number of concurrent users can, rapidly exceed what's possible today. We're very much in the early stages. And I think to the metaverse generation, we've tried to coin that term of Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They're used to those short form videos on YouTube, the TikToks, right? They're hanging out with their friends in the metaverse effectively in Roblox. And we think they're going to do that as they get older, and the metaverses that we're investing in today.
And how many metaverse projects do you have in your portfolio?
Over 30.
Over 30. You mean investing in metaverse or investing in land or real estate in metaverse?
Metaverse platforms, whether it's the equity, the token, the land, the NFTs, we're invested in 30 plus different projects that we're all excited about. Yeah.
Okay, now tell me how to identify the right metaverse. What criteria should be in the metaverse startup to be considered as a good investment opportunity?
I've learned a lot from a gentleman on our team named Andrew. He invested a lot of our metaverse portfolio. What we're looking for is effectively, social interaction. So we're not just looking at how many Twitter followers or how many Discord members, but our team is actually, on the ground in the Discords, interacting with the founders and the private Twitter groups, looking at game previews. So it's a mix of, early stage technology investing, social proof, the founders' past successes in building technology platforms. So look, it's early stage, it's risky, but we really have a proprietary matrix when we're evaluating metaverses. And I think we are the #1 investor in metaverse, and one of the earliest.
I should have introduced you as a #1 investor in metaverse. Next time, I will definitely fix this mistake.
Don't quote me on that. Yeah.
And speaking about metaverse future evolvement, there are a lot of talks about VR technology, for example, in metaverse.
Yeah.
But the hardware is still in some weird stage of the development and adoption specifically. So would it be a huge barrier in implementing VR metaverse success cases?
Everyone thinks, if you talk to your parents, or I talk to my parents, and they think the metaverse means VR. It's common, but it's false, because the metaverse is happening, 12 to 18 inches from your face on the desktop today. And that's where the metaverse is today. Now, I'm really seeing exciting projects come out around, VR gaming and integrating PFPs and interesting NFTs. And, as the technology and the hardware advances, there's an old saying that hardware is hard, and it's true, it's expensive. And we're betting on some of these larger platforms like Apple and Microsoft and Facebook or Meta to really figure that piece out. I'm still looking for, a really promising VR game or application to invest in. We haven't done it yet, but it's certainly something that, myself and a number of my, investor friends are looking for.
For those Web2 investors and startups that are watching this video, or maybe even Web3 enthusiasts who still feel confused in the terms, can you explain in simple words what is the main differentiator between a beautiful gaming startup that has lands in the game, that has real estate in the game, and different mechanics of earning, playing, and interacting, and metaverse project? What is the core difference between metaverse and gaming startup?
They're really one and the same. I actually have the opinion that the metaverse is just a experiential video game where you can transact, you can communicate, you can hang out with your friends. You can effectively live, in this world and also play games. So I think the best metaverses will be a place where you can do all of those things. For example, we're invested in a project that, can't speak about, but effectively there's this metaverse where you can watch movies and transact at a bank and do a number of other things. But then there's also a 4 or 5, 6 season, deep video game being built that's like an RPG. So I think, the opportunities are endless, and, those two worlds are frankly merging.
There is no strong differentiator. You should consider video game as a kind of metaverse, yeah? And in your vision, metaverse will be everything. As you said already, website will be also a metaverse.
There's some key differentiators for something to be a metaverse probably have user-generated content tooling. I think a lot of these metaverse platforms will ultimately succeed based on the tooling they built to make it easy to build in their metaverse and across platform. I think that's one key component. And then another key component we talk about a lot is open world, and really making it open to create new maps, new experiences for users. So kind of a combination of UGC and open world, but certainly there are some games that are not metaverses, but generally I think there's a lot of overlap between video games and metaverse.
You also invest a lot in land, in real estate, and how actually you choose in which metaverse you should buy the land, and it will grow in its price within the time.
Look, I think there's a bet that this platform will become ultimately successful, right? The #1 crypto game today is called EVIO. It's on Solana. It's a first-person shooter. It has 1 million monthly active users. Okay. So there's a huge gap between the 48 million, 50 million playing every day on Roblox and today's top crypto game. So we're trying to pick the winner that can actually become, that attraction for users. When you look at a map in a game or a metaverse, for example, you want to be where users spawn. You want to be in a place where users can be in a location that's central to other experiences or other stakeholders. The land next to Snoop Dogg and the Sandbox sold for a lot of money. And likewise, if you buy that, same kind of space in the game, you'll get the same experience. And I think what you'll see is people that own land either do two things. One, develop it themselves in a singular purpose, like we're doing around esports and Shrapnel, or number two, contract with this creator economy that's really budding today to create and develop the land for landowners, whether that be partnering with world-class brands or creating game experiences, or museums and displaying art. I think there's two directions you can go, but effectively we're getting in super early on these land sales, and we want really the best locations as possible.
And do you continue investing in lands in Metaverse despite the market conditions? Because I heard that your Metaverse land portfolio is not very profitable at this market stage.
Look, I think everyone's down, right? I think the entire crypto market crashed, and we had ETH merge, and things seem to have stabilized, and the venture markets really come back in the last month. A number of deals are getting done. The best investors are active. We have a responsibility to continue to invest in these companies that, after post-correction, backing them in their visions. We continue to invest, I think, on a situation by situation basis in land. I think the key component in land investing is that it doesn't come off as a cash grab for the game. We are now favoring games and token sales and land sales that are happening, much closer to launch of the game itself. And if that's not aligned, we're gonna, take a knee and not invest, right? So we really want an authentic, land experience, an authentic, token launch that lines up with the best interests of gamers, investors alike.
While reading your article in CoinDesk, the article by your team, by the way, guys, I will put the link to this article to the description so you can enjoy reading it yourself as well. So coming back to the idea, which I liked a lot, is about big brands willing to join Metaverse, but at the same time being in contra with the idea of Web3, because traditional big brands are pure Web2, earning for themselves, not sharing profits with users, monetizing users, and so on and so forth. And you gave example of Nike, that instead of joining Metaverse as a company, as a Web2 brand, they purchased a new Web3 friendly brand and acting in Metaverse from the new brand, from their acquired company.
Right. I think what we're going to see is Metaverse first or Web3 native companies do extremely well because they're community based. I think you've seen Artifact do this extremely well. We're close with them. They were acquired by Nike. Not only are they starting to forge or create, digital items into physical items, but really you're seeing, and things have changed since I wrote the article, but effectively we're seeing what was happening was that, brands were coming to game developers and saying, hey, let's create a branded game in Roblox. And now what's happening in the last month or two is we're seeing game developers say, you know what, let's create our own IP and then actually incorporate brands inside those experiences as, advertisements, unique experiences, that consumers can enjoy. So I think the market's really shifted. But we do believe that, Metaverse or Web3 native brands will succeed because they understand the community. The community is involved in the development of the brand and what really comes. And you see that in, how active these communities are on Twitter and Discord. It's truly incredible.
We forgot to touch the point. As a VC, what added value do you bring to your portfolio companies after investing?
Yeah, so a strategic value to our holding company, Everyrealm, is a key component of our investment thesis. So in order for us to move something through investment committee, we have to be convinced that, our organization can contribute a massive unfair advantage to our portfolio. So whether that's through our huge portfolio of brand partners around the world, whether they can be customers, whether if it's an infrastructure company and we can connect them, with our 30 plus metaverse, investments. If it's games, we have a team of esports professionals. So we are actually commenting on gameplay and we have signed relationships with the top guilds in the world. And we talk to the Web2, esports teams so we can actually give them feedback on, game distribution and marketing and gameplay. So whether you're a game or you're an infrastructure company looking to connect with customers or gamers, that's something, we really pride ourselves on and think is truly differentiated. And, we really go to work for our portfolio companies and, can talk to some of the founders that, I've backed and our team is backed. We really go to work and, fill out their syndicates with, the top tier, the right people that are going to do the right thing.
On your website, I can be mistaken how it is called. I think Metaverse Academy, right?
Yeah, so we have a Metaverse Academy called Everealm Academy. It's actually taught by the leading, instructors that come from MIT and Harvard and, CEOs or founders of leading, Web3 VCs, such as Dragonfly, among others, and talking about everything from gaming to Metaverse to how to set up a wallet. And so we've seen a lot of interest from big corporate partners trying to get smart on Web3, attending our academy. When we were starting Everyrealm, our founders found that these companies were coming to them just looking to learn more about the metaverse and how do we get involved. And so we actually productized that effort into the Everealm Academy. It's led by, two incredible people at our company, Pedro and Russell, that have done an amazing job. It's on-demand content, and then we run semesters just like a normal university would. So, happy to provide a, coupon code or discount code for your community. So let's work on that as a follow-up.
For sure, that would be amazing. I get your word here, and I will definitely follow up on this shortly. And what is the target audience of this academy? Are these individuals who are curious about these topics or startup founders?
I think it can be really both. Anyone who's looking for, there's different layers to the platform. There's, entry level, intermediate, advanced. I don't know if those are the exact names, but effectively, if you know nothing, you can come and learn something. If you're already in the industry, you can go deeper into a number of tracks like gaming, for example. And, people like our co-founder, TJ, who is super deep in the crypto space, teach lessons on, what's really going on. He's developed the tokenomics for leading games like Zedrun. So I think there's a lot to learn for really anybody to benefit from the platform.
In addition to all the ways to support your portfolio companies you described, you also give a personal feedback very often to your portfolio founders, right?
Yeah, look, I think we want to be the first call. I'm on chats with them in Telegram or Discord or WhatsApp, which as an investor, I have a huge screen in front of me with all those platforms open, but wherever they want to communicate, I'm available, we're available. I think we want to be the reliable partner for these founders. And we're happy to make founder referrals when we make an investment. I think whether it's team building or tokenomics or the next round, concerns that are top of mind for founders, we want to be there as kind of a first call.
This part definitely deserves a second part of the interview, but I know that our time today is limited. So before we finish, my question is, can you share some advice to startup founders who are watching this video on what to focus on during the bear market when it is crazy hard to acquire that much that big crypto community as on bull run, what should they focus on right now?
I think building a massive community, focus on your community. That's really the ethos of Web3. Number two, if you're fundraising, the days are really over. It's really easy to see the press releases, and it's really, discouraging to see that in the news when you're, fighting through no's and hearing that through your process. I think really dedicate at least 3 months to your process during these times. It's about finding the person that does believe in your vision, and really sees it, and build product, right? Because I think ultimately, with Web3, we're trying to create better products and be product driven. So, community, giving it the time it deserves, finding the right partners, and building product would be a few things to focus on.
Zach, thank you so much for your time today. And I wish that in 1 year time, or maybe even earlier, every person in this market will hear about Everyrealm VC. And you will be the same name as like Anderson Horowitz, but in general in Web3, you will be the #1 investor in Metaverse, in GameFi, bringing this knowledge to the community, sharing the added value, and building the new unicorns. That is fascinating that you are doing here.
We hope so, and we try to be available. So, my Telegram and LinkedIn, we can provide for you all. Thank you so much for staying up late for me. I know where you are in the world, and it was a pleasure, and thanks for the opportunity to let me tell you about Everealm and the things we're doing.
I hope that we will continue one day with the second part of the interview, digging deeper into the topics of tokenomics, user acquisition, and other things that important for startups.
All right, I'll have to bring some of the experts from our team. But yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Zach.
Thank you.